What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode, I believe 11 of the
Episode
Coach and
11.
the Couch Potato. We're into the second week of double digits. That's wild to think of. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Potato. On the other side of the screen, we kind of flipped sides today. We got
Yeah.
Coach Slate. What is good, sir?
Not much, man. It's been a busy week. A lot of fun week, a lot of gymnastic stuff. I realize that my 4-year-old doesn't care about what anybody thinks, and I pray to God that never changes. At gymnastics, she is a clown, man. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. But yeah, man, just super busy week, but I'm glad to be here, man. How about you? You had a lot of stuff going on, man.
We did. Got back late last night. The boy and his team bowled at the NAIA National Championships starting on Thursday. Came out of the winners bracket and unfortunately had a heartbreaking Saturday and finished national runners up though. No shame in that.
Not at
Uh,
all.
cool thing with bowling is they get a second chance at the. Honestly, in the bowling world, it's the bigger of the two.
Okay.
To the school, the NAIA one is obviously super important because
Yeah.
all of your sports are NAIA.
Yeah.
But in bowling, the USBC is the big boy one
Okay.
because it brings everybody together. Kind
Gotcha.
of the creme de la creme.
Gotcha.
It would be the equivalent of if we did a March Madness version in college football where you had D1, D1 AA, D3, NAIA, and you just took the best teams and put them all together.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it was a really cool experience though. So chin up, boys. You got a month to get ready. And you get a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah, for our listeners, real quick. So I was texting Jeremy this weekend and just checking in to see how Jaden was doing. And this was like the coolest thing. And I'm gonna gas you up a little bit, Dad. It was pretty cool, man. I got a video and I was thinking like, okay, Jaden must have done something pretty sick. And it's a video of Jaden being the absolute best teammate that you could possibly be. And like for a parent to be excited about that, that lets me know that you guys instilled all the right stuff in him. And as a coach, for me personally, it's just refreshing to see a kid who's just a part of a team celebrating the success of his teammates. I know deep down he probably wishes he was out there doing, being the one counted on in those moments, but he knows where he's at. He's a freshman, and so kind of got to bide his time. But I thought that was pretty refreshing. So kudos to you and Sabrina, man. You guys knocked it out of the park. And Jaden, kudos to you, man. That's awesome. Just being able to support your guys, man. That was pretty cool. Not forgetting what the moment was. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those boys are
No
a
problem.
family, man. They
Yeah.
have been through some absolute adversity. So for them to be able to come out and in the biggest times of the year, in a way, to steal a motto from the 2010, 2011 Buckeyes and Mike Brewster's brother Billy actually started a clothing company for a little bit while he was in Columbus. Made a shirt that said "Shock the World."
Yeah.
That was after the Trestle stuff, and
Yeah.
met Billy a few times. Great guy. Mike, awesome guy. He's doing his coaching thing. I forget where he's at now.
Yeah.
But just like we were talking about, you get to get a second chance. Kirk Ferentz in Iowa thought they had a second chance.
Man.
So Caden Proctor, all world, all everything, offensive tackle, committed. I believe he was actually committed to Iowa at one point in high school.
Yeah.
Leaves them at the altar to go to Alabama. A trend everywhere. Plays at Bama this year, kills it. Then obviously Coach Saban leaves, and Caden Proctor enters the portal.
Yeah.
Ohio State fans obviously were clamoring, throw the bag at him, give him the Brinks truck, give him the blank check. So I'm assuming Iowa gave him some money. Goes to Iowa. At this point, I'm going to assume he just wanted student tickets to watch Caitlin Clark flop around. But, that's a whole nother animal. Actually, you know what? Tangent real quick.
Okay. All right.
You gave me props for being a dad. I want to give Caitlin Clark's dad props.
Oh,
Um, so
yes.
so I've made no bones about it before. I respect the heck out of Caitlin Clark. I think she
Yep.
is a baller. Yesterday, you're up like 20 and she's acting a fool. Headbutting the basketball, going after referees, barking for calls. And then you see her dad in the stands literally yelling, "Shut up." So props to you, Mr. Clark.
Yeah.
But so Proctor watched Caitlin set the records and ball out,
Yep.
and has announced he's going to re-enter the portal and go back to Alabama. I don't get it. I mean, obviously, there's rumors of a spring break trip and all this. And,
Yeah.
So, with that, one of the things we want to really dive into today is how do you fix the portal? Because right now there's legislation out there.
Yeah.
We know the NCAA doesn't do anything proactively.
Yeah.
They live in a reactive world.
Yep.
As it sits, to kind of give everybody just a quick rundown. I want to make sure I get my dates right here. I saved the dates. So essentially, used to, if you transferred, so we'll use like when you played, for example, in the time frame. Until 2017, 2018, if you transferred up divisions, you didn't have to sit. If you transferred down divisions, you didn't have to sit.
Yep.
But if you transferred from Ohio State to Akron or vice versa, you had to sit a season.
You had to sit out. Yep.
Then the college football and actually all NCAA sports, I mean, there's even a bowling transfer portal. They come to this agreement. They institute the transfer portal and allow students a one-time transfer with no penalty as far as division to division.
Yep.
And they've tinkered it as we go. So essentially, the Monday after bowl selections are announced, the first window opens up.
Mm-hmm.
That window is 30 days. And that window was chaotic.
So chaotic.
That was 6:15 in the morning, and our phones start blowing up because Kyle McCord entered the portal.
Yeah.
So then they also instituted a post-spring ball one.
Yep.
And that one's only 15 days. This year, I believe it's April 15th to April 30th. So if you lose your bowl or lose your spot in the spring to a freshman or whatever, you've got a chance to make a move. And if your coach, well, we'll get into that part of the conversation.
Yep.
So first and foremost, when they instituted the portal, as a former college football player who I'm sure at times went through, hiccups and weren't happy, and what did you think when that came to fruition?
Man, I've always been on the side of the player. I never really understood the sitting out stuff. I really didn't. Especially if you had the academics, you had everything that you needed to get accepted into the school, and your team that you're currently on signs off on you to leave or your withdrawal. I never understood why you had to sit out. I was in a situation where, after my sophomore year, my redshirt sophomore year, our coaching staff left and went to another place, another school, Chowan University, where Pleasant's head coach, Coach Wessler, left me at Urbana because he's a jerk and decided to go down there with them. I'll never forgive him for that. But, our coaching staff left and I had an opportunity to go with them. And had I gone with them, I would have had to sit out. And that's not something that I wanted to do because you don't get that year back. I had already been redshirted. And so I did not want to have to sit out my junior year and then only have one more year left to play football. So that was kind of the situation that I was in. But, when the transfer portal came about, I specifically think about Justin Fields, but I also think about those guys who have been in a program for 3 years, gave everything they had, and have only been on special teams or whatever, and they want their opportunity. I think those guys should be able to go get their opportunity. So I was actually pretty happy about when the transfer portal first came out and the premise behind it, allowing that one time, free transfer, and you can go and not be penalized. So I was a big fan of it at first. Now, it's gotten a little chaotic, like you said, but But yeah, being in college, man, I totally get why, some people just want to find different opportunities that's best for them.
Yeah, it's all about, finding a fit. Um, and I think there are a number of facts, depending on how far you go away from home.
Yeah.
If you've seen guys in both recruiting and the transfer world who may be fathers, to infants and need to be closer to home. There's always circumstances. And I'm like you. I'm always going to side with the player.
Yep.
And they did institute finally that if your head coach leaves, then you have a 30-day window to where you can leave. Obviously having been recruited yourself, having talked to coaches myself, you commit to a school, not a coach, but it's easy to say that.
It's so easy to say that.
At the end of the day, look at the Alabama kids, for example.
Yeah.
There's this lore that is Alabama. But Nick Saban was a massive part of that lore.
For sure.
Before Saban, they had struggled to find relevancy again.
Yep.
You look at places like Ohio State that have been fortunate enough to just go from Jim Tressel to Urban Meyer to Ryan Day. A lot of places aren't fortunate enough. And that's when, the fire Ryan Day birds come out. That's the question I always come back at them with is, who do you go to? Because if you tank this, you are going to blow your program up. So you look at like Dion at Colorado.
Yeah.
And, he's lived in the portal.
He just had something the other day where he flat out said, like, this is where we're getting our players from. So I was like, it's interesting.
And he basically said he won't go to high schools.
Yeah.
And it was a long-winded Dion-esque, but he's kind of earned the right to be Dion. I mean, you have had success where you've gone.
Yeah.
So now there's the legislation out there that has essentially said the NCAA can't incorporate the one-time transfer, that it's carte blanche. Do what you want.
Yeah.
I.e. Caden Proctor. We've already heard, I think it was Josh Pate came out and said, the spring portal is going to be the wildest thing you've ever seen, and Caden Proctor is not top 3.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Do I think you're going to see massive names? Probably not. I mean, somebody's going to get a bag.
Never know, man. Yeah.
And somebody shocking is going to leave somewhere. Now, do I think that is like an Ohio State problem? Probably not. Oregon? Probably not. Ole Miss? Probably not. But, somebody somewhere is going to take an L. And it's going to be, that whole shock and awe thing again. Just like when Quinshawn entered the portal or Caleb Downs entered the portal.
Yep.
A couple of the guys that Oregon got, were huge names.
Yeah.
So, how do you fix it? I mean, what is ideal to you for this portal issue?
Yeah, man. It's such, because you want to advocate for the player. You want to be on the side of the player. I'm always going to believe in that. Coaches can leave and go whenever they want, and nobody bats an eye. We were talking about my situation in college. Man, our coach left in the middle of spring ball, like flat out. Like we had just talked about Tony Alford leaving in spring ball, and it leaves Coach Day in a tough spot. Well, imagine having your head coach leave, and he's taking the whole staff with you, but the AD says we got to have spring ball. So the coaches that aren't the head coach stick around, even though they know they're leaving at the end of the spring. Like it was a complete joke. So coaches always get the opportunity to leave on their own. And that's why I'm always on the side of the player. I do think there needs to be some sort of changes to it. I don't like the 30-day window after the season. I think that needs to be shorter. That is something that, the spring window, how it's 15 days, I think the first window also needs to be 15 days as well. I think there's just so many things that can happen in that 30 days that are going to change everything. And if a coach leaves, and okay, instead of having that 15 days, now you've got 45 days. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many intricacies that I don't really feel like people understand what the heck is going on. And so that makes it tough. But, the first thing I would do is shorten the windows. I just think, with NIL, I just think people are dipping in the portal and seeing what they can get. And then if they realize, like, oh, I didn't get as much money as I thought, then I'm just going to jump back in, or I'm going to take my name out of here and I'm going to go back to the school that I wanted, So I think shortening the windows will be good. I think there needs to be strict that one-time transfer. Like Caden Proctor will probably go back to Alabama and not have to sit out. I don't agree with that. I think after you've left a program one time, if you transfer again, you should have to sit out. I think that would kind of deter some of the kids from entering the portal. I really do. And, that's something that the Caden Proctor situation, who was the other guy that was a corner a couple of years ago for Texas A&M? Gosh, Denver Harris. He transferred all over the place. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just don't agree with being able to do that. But at the same time, again, I want to be on the side of the players. So, but I as the NCAA, I would try to step in and try to take some of that away, and get these kids to actually play through, the commitments that they made. And you said it the best, man. You're committing to the school, not the coach. And I get, when you're going to Alabama, that makes it tough. But that is one change I would make for sure. The shorter windows. Is there a perfect way to do this? No, there really isn't. But I think the shorter windows would allow people to make swifter decisions. I think it would deter some people. Like, all right, hey, I was going to enter the portal, but now I'm going to wait until spring ball is over and I'm going to go in the spring and kind of see things. So I think shortening that window, changing signing day a little bit too. I think that would actually help out with the transfer portal a lot too. But I mean, you've been an advocate for that, making the early signing period earlier than what it is. So I don't know. I just kind of rambled there, but definitely shortening the windows would be extremely beneficial, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a big step, and you hit on something else with the signing days.
Yeah.
Because you have that weird, Ohio State saw it with McCord leaving immediately after the last game of the season.
Yeah.
You're now going into a bowl game potentially undermanned.
Yep.
And I understand bowl games don't mean nearly anything unless it's a playoff game, which now there's more of those. So, you put a program in a terrible spot because, say, let's look at the spring portal, for example, and just throw out a doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
That Ryan Day names Will Howard the starter and Aaron Noland the backup. You could potentially be looking at losing 3 quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
And so now, you're past 2 signing days already. You're a year from another enrollment period. You could roll with 2, but it's scary.
Yeah.
I think you move the early signing day.
Yeah.
I think early signing day goes to, let's say, August 1. Something, before guys get into their senior year. That way the distractions are gone. I mean, Yes, you see flips. And that's the nature of the beast. But a lot of times those guys that are signing in December, unless they're running back going to Miami, tend to stick to their commitments, it seems.
Yep. Because they're going to early enroll.
Right. So, move that early window up. And, you still do your February one for late bloomers or, guys who really just don't know.
Yeah.
You look at the punter that Ohio State's bringing, and now I'm sure that's going to be like a gray shirt or a walk-on type situation. So it's not really the same, but and it just straightens out the clock. So now in August, what you've got coming in.
Yep.
In January, the number of guys who are enrolling early is astronomical at this point, and I again, being on the side of the player, I get it.
Yeah.
I remember when LJ did it here in Marion, and everybody was like, "What is he doing?"
Yeah.
And it's like free practice,
Yep.
free strength and conditioning, free dietitian. Like
Yeah.
you are getting acclimated to being a grown man at that point.
Yeah, and when he
And
did it, it wasn't something that everybody was doing, and
no,
so it allowed LJ to be a step ahead of people when they actually got on campus. You know, he had gotten a full spring of tough coaching, a full spring of or winter of workouts, and so like that was big for him.
yeah, and you suck, Bobby Petrino. Still,
Yeah,
um,
terrible.
you know that's a whole nother conversation. I watched a Louisville game where every running back on that team, Michael Dyer included, all were just choking the ball with fumble, like 3 or 4 fumbles, and
Yeah,
LJ still doesn't get a carry. Come on,
yeah,
Bobby.
I know.
So that one stings because the kid was good, but
Yeah,
he's an even better young man.
yep,
Um, so yeah, I think that's where you start. Um, you know, I think you do a one time of your choosing transfer, but
yeah,
obviously, if the coach leaves, you keep that there. Now,
yep,
I do think it still has to be the head coach.
yes,
I think position coaches come and go as we've seen this offseason.
yeah,
Benedict Alford and his boys up in Ann Arbor, who now they're a D line coach short.
I know.
We'll call that karma, I guess.
Yeah,
So that's kind of where you go there, I think.
yeah,
Obviously there are always going to be back channel dealings. I feel like the Riley Leonard recruitment this year was a really good
it was very
example
weird.
of that.
Was very
Uh,
weird, and honestly, I think a lot of the transfer portal stuff would be alleviated if the NCAA kind of put some sort of parameters on NIL, and paying the kids up front. Like, I just don't feel like that is why NIL was created. You know, people wanted it's NIL, name, image, and likeness. So you wanted to get paid or wanted to have the opportunity to get sponsors and different things like that. You know, I feel like that's what it was created for. But now, with some people going out of their way to make sure, like, hey, we're guaranteeing you X amount of dollars over these next 3 years that you're here with us, like that that makes things a lot tougher. And like you said, then you get into it almost turns into NFL, like the legal tampering stuff. And now you've got people in the back channels and trying to find different ways to get to the guys and to give them so much money. And I think that just I think that would really help a lot with the transfer portal as well, if there was something that was done with that. But the transfer portal is it's a beast, and I will tell you from a high school coaching standpoint, it's really affected the way that coaches recruit high school kids. If you're not a top flight, high 4 or 5 star guy that they have full confidence in, they're going to go look in the portal before they come talk to you. And I think that kind of messes with things, or they're going to put your recruiting on hold because Quinshawn Judkins might be jumping in the portal. You know what I mean? And because of the back channels, we've had a conversation with him. And so it's really affected high school recruiting as well. So there's a whole nother side of that. Could be a whole episode in itself. What the transfer portal does for high school recruiting, and those guys who are typically were like those tweeners. Like, there was a couple years ago where Ohio State, a kid who went to Buffalo, he went to Akron Hoban, running back. I can't remember his name. It's going to bother me, but he was a real small guy, but he was like a
you loved
tweener.
him. You
Yeah,
loved him.
I cannot remember his name now. But
Yeah,
he
I
was a
cannot.
tweener. He was a tweener, and so is he a MAC level guy? Is he a Power 5 guy? Well, now those Power 5 schools are like, okay, well, I don't need that tweener. I'll just get in the portal, get somebody that's experienced, that has played more, and this guy can go to Buffalo. And then in 2 years, if he becomes who we think he can become, then when he gets into the portal or through my backroom channels, I'll have a player send him a text and be like, hey, we're now interested in you because you've rushed for 2,500 yards in your 2 years. Come to whatever school I'm at, So it's really messed with high school recruiting, man. And shout out to the parents and the players who are navigating that situation and navigating those things with so much uncertainty. Like one day you could be the top guy for this team, But then the next day, if Riley Leonard jumps into the portal, well, now Riley Leonard is the focus, and we're going to put you on the back burner until we know that we actually need you. It's just tough, man. It's a tough place to be with the transfer portal, and I don't know if there is a right way to do it, but I do think with some of the things that you talked about, with the early signing period and shortening up those windows and allowing the one time, not the multiple. I think those are some things that you could do to make, decisions a lot cleaner for these coaches and for the players as well. So, God, transfer portal, it's nuts, man. The Dr. Pepper commercial.
Yes, that's our starting quarterback.
Yeah, that is like exactly what it is, man. So
and I'm sure that also affects, and you've probably seen a lot of this, those guys who may be like, say, a MAC talent, or even to a much, a Finley, a Tiffin, a Heidelberg, to where those guys get put on hold because it's like, okay, I'm Akron, and I need 2 linebackers.
Yep.
Well, I really like this kid from Finley. I like this kid from Central Catholic, but man, I really want to see who comes into the portal from the Power 5.
Yeah.
Or I'm Tiffin, and this kid is kind of a MAC level kid, maybe like a Youngstown State, but again, I want to see who enters the portal from Youngstown State, or
exactly.
So coaches, even have it. Now granted, this is what these guys make millions of dollars. Well, not millions at all levels.
Yeah.
But it's wild. And NIL, yes, 100% needs regulated, and that's an entirely different episode because we do want to get into all things NIL.
Yeah.
I do think there's ways to regulate it. And I think that that's also a massive step in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still, and this isn't a homer take, I do think the Ohio State collectives are trying their best to do things above board.
Yeah.
You obviously there are a ton of haters out there right now when it comes to the Ohio State transfer class. And it's because, we've all hated on different things over the years. Hang on a second, I got a cough. So, my motto growing up, raising, my son and coaching is, if you guys don't have haters, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And, so I do think they're doing it above board. I do think, we'll throw Texas A&M out there because they've been the big question mark in the NIL world. And you kind of saw it with, I can't think of the kid's name. Enter the portal, ended up going back to A&M, never transferred, so it wasn't a Caden Proctor situation.
The offensive lineman,
yes.
Was it Chase Bisontis?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, we're not insiders, so I cannot confirm this. The rumor out there was it was tied to NIL.
Yeah.
That one of his deals basically said, and that's illegal. In the NCAA's world of NIL, that is illegal.
That is illegal.
NIL, I love the fact, when it's not straight cash, that, you see guys getting cars, you see guys getting apartments.
Yep.
And that's another thing, with the Ohio State collectives is like Travion Henderson, and there's an entire group of those guys who are using NIL money to flip houses and build houses. And, that's residual income. So that's what it's designed to do. So I don't know that we'll ever see a resolution until everything goes the way of, do I think that you'll eventually see like profit sharing? And I do. And I don't know that changes college football. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's broken. That part of the process is broken, but it's not just football. You have a basketball transfer portal that you're going to see explode here shortly.
Explode.
like I said, even down to bowling, there's a portal.
Yeah.
I look at it about once a week just to see, anybody we know, where they move in or whatever. And
Yeah.
there's like 7 pages of kids already. In a season that, the big national championship's a month away still.
Yeah.
Now, granted, at this point, there's only 16 boys teams and 16 girls teams left. So there's a lot of, and with the chaos that is the FAFSA this year, if you have a parent or if you have a kid in college or going to college, props to you for dealing with that chaos. Just got word ours was processed last night. So,
Okay.
processed, no errors. Let's go.
Yeah. There we go.
So, and for us, it's easy because we know where we're going next year.
Yeah.
But, you've got kids that you see every day who are still deciding on schools.
Yeah. Still deciding. I was just talking to a kid earlier today. He's got some D3 football interests and he's still trying to figure it out. And I talked to his dad last week and his dad's like, come on, man, like we need to make this decision. Like, let's do it. So yeah, man, it's tough. And that's another, I just thought of this kid, but there was a lot of teams that were interested in him, D2 and D3. And he was literally told to his face, you're going to wait. We like you, but we need to wait. We want to see how this goes in this winter portal, after the season's over. I want to see how it goes. And it's like, and it's tough. And it's for that kid, it was disheartening. Like, what, you think I'm not good enough? You know what I mean? And so it's not just those big schools that are affected by this. It's all the football programs, and all divisions that are affected by this. And so it's just, it's just a crazy time in college football. And there's a part of me that is like, that kind of likes it because I've always been just such a college football nut. And I love the fact that the players are starting to have some power. And I think that's the way that it should be, even going all the way back to the Fab Five. And I think of Braxton Miller when he was here. Like, everybody in the crowd had a number 5 jersey, and it was because of him.
Right.
Like, I love Michael Wiley. Michael Wiley was my guy, but from like 2009 until forever, like, that number 5 was for Braxton Miller. And so, like, to look up there and be like, oh dang, I'm not getting a dime for any of that, so I love the fact that the players have some power, but at the same time, I just feel like there needs to be some regulations that, and if those regulations are just the time frame switches, then I'll support that, man. I really will. So it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting conversation. I feel like there are so many different opinions, and but the one thing that we can all agree on, and I am sure our listeners can too, is it's a freaking wild, wild west, man. It really is. So Cater and Proctor is just a perfect example of that, so
For sure.
crazy.
So yeah, with the second window opening up here in a month, actually I think that's like the weekend or the Monday after the Ohio State spring game. It's close.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
very close. We'd be remiss if we didn't dive into just a hair of Ohio State specific stuff. Spring practice, full go. Not to the surprise of anybody. Our boy Jeremiah Smith, we've talked him up a ton.
Yeah.
Lost the black stripe in 4 practices.
Unreal.
I believe that's the record, or it's tied with Brandon Tater, Carnell Ennis. But either way, for those listening that don't know what the black stripe means, all freshmen and transfers, when they come into the program, their first practice helmet does not have the Ohio State helmet stripe that you're used to seeing.
Yep.
It has just a black stripe down the middle. When the coaching staff and your peers deem you to be fit and ready to be a Buckeye, you lose the black stripe and you get your real one.
Yep.
So it's like a rite of passage. So obviously, we've heard crazy things. We've seen some videos already of Jeremiah Smith just out here mossing guys. And I'll be honest, I haven't dove a ton into spring stuff yet because it's so early. We're like 5 or 6 practices in. and then obviously you see there's a photo that came out with the DBs. Caleb
Yeah.
Downs looks like a grown man.
Yeah.
Um,
He's been in
Jordan
the weight room.
Jordan Hancock looks about 6'4".
Yeah, he looks like he
Um,
got taller. Yeah.
so what have you heard? What have you seen? Who's kind of standing out?
Yeah, so I love spring ball. I think back to when I'll talk about this at the end because I want to bring up Jim Tressel, but we'll wait till the end. But I love spring ball. Spring ball for me when I was playing was an opportunity for me to show that I should be on the field. And so those guys who are fighting and challenging for those spots, I think it's awesome to go out there and practice and just compete hard every single day. And it also builds that camaraderie as well. You hear, Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks and Arvell Reese, you hear them talk about, getting a lot of reps at that will linebacker. But CJ Hicks came out and said the other day, like, hey, that dude Sonny, he's a dog. Like, and they're competing against each other to be the starting will linebacker. And so like those are the things I love about spring ball. But obviously Jeremiah Smith, receiver from South Florida, he was, dude, like the clips that they showed of him in the one-on-ones, and he just looks like a grown man. Like he looks like he's not a freshman. Like he just graduated high school in December and he looks like a grown man. And so that brings up the conversation of is he going to be in the top 4? Well, I would assume that he's going to be in the top 4 receivers if he already lost his black stripe. So some of the other people that have really been talked about a lot of them are on the defensive side of the ball, but I want to give Brandon Ennis some love. The what everybody's saying about him is, how competitive and how aggressive and how physical that he has been playing. He's got a lot of Steve Smith from the Panthers. He's got a lot of that in him. And I'm excited for him, man. Whatever role that he carves out, he made the comment that they've been kind of using him in that Xavier Johnson role. And I love Xavier Johnson. And I think he could take that to the next level. So I'm excited about that. And obviously like Carnell Tate and those guys have really been stepping up. The quarterbacks, Will Howard and Devin Brown threw at the pro day last week. And they both looked pretty good. I got to watch a bunch of clips of that. Obviously it's just in t-shirts and shorts and no pass rush or anything, but Devin Brown's arm, he's got a freaking cannon. He's got a hose for an arm. Will Howard's arm strength isn't as strong, but he was definitely more accurate in that time. So that was something that really stood out to me. You could see or hear from what people are saying that Will Howard's starting to get more and more comfortable around the guys and in the system. So I fully expect him to be the quarterback, but I would love to see DB and Lincoln continue to battle out for that starting spot. But defensively, one of the things that really stands out to me is Carnell Tate said when they were interviewing him after practice that the DBs, man, like they're playing like they are the best dudes on the field. Like BIA is what they are fully embodying. He said the level of trash talk that's been going on has been out of this world. And I know there are some people who aren't fans of a lot of trash talk. And listen, I get it. I get why people aren't fans of it, especially if it gets out of hand. But when you're doing those one-on-ones and you're competing against guys who are elite athletes and are the best in the country, you want to bring the best out of them. They want to bring out the best out of you. That competitive fire, like, dude, I love it. I love seeing them jaw and get after it and get on each other. And then afterwards being able to dap each other up, because that is where the real bonds and connections come. You know what I mean? Like to be able to say like, hey, we are going up against Emeka Ibuka every single day. And every single day I'm in his neck. And he knows like, hey, I'm the best corner in the country and he's one of the best receivers. And we go at it every single day. But on Saturday, we're out there together. So I get to root for Emeka when he's making somebody look silly. And he gets to root for me when I'm locking somebody up. And so to hear that, that's what I love to hear. And that's where Ohio State and their secondary has always been grounded and having that, dog mentality. You mentioned Damon Arnett and you mentioned guys like him and and Jeff Okuda, Bradley Roby. Bradley Roby used to talk reckless to people. You know what I mean? And so like I love the fact that we're getting back to that, and I love the fact that these young receivers aren't backing down from it. And so to see that and to hear those things and in the interviews, it makes me believe that we are really getting to where national championship level football is created. And I love hearing that. Offensive line wise, I think it's still, a lot of figuring out. But the one thing I was very interested in hearing Coach Day say was they are extremely excited about Josh Fryer and the work that he's put in this offseason. He's changed his body. His level of athleticism has improved. It sounds like he's pretty grounded in at right tackle, and he made it pretty clear that guys like Tegra Shabola were going to only rep at right tackle. That leads me to believe our guy Luke is going to be, in there at right guard. I try to tell people that
we're gonna keep sending the juju out there.
Yeah, man. So it all sounds good, and we just have to remind ourselves that it's still just spring. But for it just being spring ball, I love what I am hearing. I love what they're putting out media wise and everything. I love what Coach Day has really done to take that step back and be the CEO, and I think he's starting to see the fruits of that. And so I just hope this development continues and that everybody stays healthy, man. But a lot of good things going on this spring, and I'm going to try to get down to a spring practice next week. So hopefully Coach Hinton returns my text when I send him one. But yeah, man, I've heard some good things, man, and so I'm excited for this group. I'm excited for our young guys to see who we have step up.
I did hear a lot of positive about Fryer. So I mean, I did, I tried to at least peruse the message boards, while I've been traveling and everything. So exciting stuff there. One cool thing from spring practice, not player related, real quick, that kind of made me smile was seeing Jimmy T in the house. And the other side to that, Ryan Day looks so much, I don't want to say healthier, but happier.
Yeah.
He looks like the beard is full send right now.
Yeah, he's all in on that beard, man.
So, but bringing a guy back like Tressel, is to me what Ohio State's about.
Yeah.
I saw numerous guys. I think LaCharles Bentley shared some of the speech. C. Grant.
Yeah.
I know you're a huge Tressel fan as well.
Yeah.
What does bringing a guy like that back around these guys who, I mean, let's be honest, are an entirely different animal, mindset wise than the guys who played in 02 or 05.
Yeah.
Because they have so much more stuff to deal with that the portal, NIL.
Yeah.
Do you think that helps ground them? Do you think it helps really hammer in, Ohio State principles? What do you think?
I think it really hammers in the brotherhood. That's one thing that really stands out to me. I remember bringing back, some former coaches and former players from some pretty important times in Harding football history to come back and talk. I remember when Coach Hinton came back and talked to some of our guys through Gear Up, and Coach Schneider kind of set that up, and I made sure all of our guys were at attention and made sure they introduced themselves to Coach Hinton. Those are things that the players will never forget because they know that, okay, this person is at this level and they've come back to talk to us and they don't have to. That lets me know that they believe in what we're doing. And just to hear, the steadiness of Jim Tressel and to hear the calm that he had and the confidence and just a reassuring what it means to be a Buckeye. Like that's something I guarantee you that resonated with every single player, because this is a guy, in all respect to every coach that we've had before, but in this current age of Ohio State football, we're not here if we don't have Jim Tressel. You know what I mean? In my opinion. And that's just me, because maybe I think he's the GOAT, but where he took this program from when he got here, it wasn't in a terrible spot, but to get it to where they're beating one of the most talented teams in college football history, you know what I mean? And then to stay at that level and elevate, and then for Urban to come in, even though they had that down year, the talent was still here. And so Urban knew that he could get it to that next level. To have Tress come back, man, it's just like, it's a pretty powerful thing. And the other thing it shows me too was that Coach Day is fully embracing what it means to be the head coach at Ohio State. And he's fully embracing, making sure that the guys who came before him and laid that groundwork, that foundation, are involved in what they're doing. It kind of went under the radar, but when Coach Day was talking about in his press conference this week, he was talking about, special teams, and he openly said he reached out to Coach Tress. And that to me, that says a lot. He's an Urban Meyer disciple, Coach Day is. And so he could only talk to Urban and everybody would be like, yeah, okay, it's Urban Meyer. You know what I mean? But the fact that he's going back farther, that means something. And, and I think having Tress come back is just, given how he left the program and given how, he had the show calls or whatever it was where he couldn't come around, and just to see him walking around with the sweater vest on, it's just like, dude, it's just magical, man. I don't even know what another word to bring about it. So, it's pretty cool to see. The one thing I do, and I think Urban did a great job of this too, is, they didn't really publicize it the way they did this thing with Coach Tressel, but Urban had Coach Bruce, he had Coach Cooper. Coach Cooper, every practice that I've gone to, and I've gone to like probably 20, 25 spring practices, Coach Cooper was there at every single one. Like, that dude, people don't necessarily like Coach Cooper, but he's a Buckeye, and that dude is at practice in the mix. You know what I mean? And so Urban always welcomed that. And I love seeing Coach Day embrace that and welcoming these guys back who kind of paved the way for him. So it was just pretty cool to see Coach Tress, and I know that's going to have an impact, man. And for him to come back and speak, to let you know that in his core, that dude is a Buckeye. And so that's pretty cool to see.
I feel like he just wanted to see the new punter because, I mean, with Coach Tress, the punt is the most important play in football.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
Excuse me. But no. So, yeah, we still got some spring ball to go. Excited to see what happens. Hopefully everybody stays healthy.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a big one. But I think, they're doing a really good job of, I'm sure come the last week of spring ball and the spring game that you're going to see it scaled back as they've continued to do. I mean, the last thing that you want is somebody, I don't care if it's a starter or a third string guy, getting hurt in a spring game.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yep.
Obviously on the running back coach front, nothing new. So we don't really have anything to hit there, because I'm sure, there are a couple people out there wondering. Shout out to the Lady Buckeyes. Lost a heartbreaker. I don't want to say a heartbreaker. They got ran over in the second half.
Yeah, they did, man. Dang it.
Let's hope that Coach Deebs and the guys can find a way to win the NIT.
Yep.
My bracket's already shot.
My bracket was done day one.
The 40-year-old guy from Oakland, or at least he looks like he's 40.
Yeah.
Put a dagger in that real quick.
Yeah,
I'm sure John. I entered a pool with John Ratliff. We talk about John a lot. He's a loyal listener and a great guy. I'm sure he laughed when he saw that I lost one of my national championship game teams. But I also didn't watch hardly any college basketball this year. So
nope, I only watched the Buckeyes, man. So I was going at it blind.
For sure. I felt like, when they say, my wife picked a bracket on who has the prettiest colors, or, I was like, oh, they're normal. But I did have Gonzaga coming out of that region. So them beating Kansas was, but dude, I've rode with the Zags since high school.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking the Adam Morrison days.
That mustache, man.
Yes.
Woo. That was nice.
And if our boy BG is listening to this, Adam Morrison was still better than JJ Redick in college.
Whoa. You just pissed him off.
But shout out BG.
Yeah.
So we're gonna change him out.
one other thing, the Ohio State women's hockey team playing for a national championship. They beat Clarkson in the Frozen Four. So kudos to them. I had a chance to listen to, I forget the head coach's name, it's going to bother me, but I had a chance to listen to our 97.1 The Fan the other day. And dude, it was like so refreshing, some of the stuff that she was saying. And it was just awesome to hear her and a lot of the other coaches just echo what Gene Smith has always echoed about, it all being a family and that we're not here because of a certain program. But one thing that she said that will stand out to me, and it was so cool, and the way that she did it, it was like a very like humble thing. She was talking about, the different things that, Ohio State offers and all the different sports teams that they have. And they were like, what do you say like to some recruits? Because you don't have the nicest arena and all these things. And she said, well, one of the things I say to a lot of the recruits is we have a better football team than any school that you're going to go to. And that football team allows us the opportunity to have all these extremely nice things. The new arena is going to come. All right. But in the meantime, we're going to make this the best possible thing we can make it. And the atmosphere is going to be fantastic. And we're going to make sure you guys are coached up and you guys get all the nicest things that you can get. But the arena's coming. And for her, like, I'm not saying people should bow down to the football program by any means, but for her to just come out and to openly say something like that. And to me, that shows that she understands that Ohio State is a football school and she's able to recognize that while also bringing in a spotlight to her program. And I thought that was so cool to hear somebody say that and make sure that it's not just about my program, it's about all the programs. And so I thought that was pretty cool, man. She gained a fan in me for life, man. I thought that was a pretty humble thing to kind of to say. So shout out to her. Shout out to our shooting team or whatever.
Yeah.
Pistol team. They won a national championship. Shout out to them. Thanks, 11
and the
Warriors.
Hockey game 0-0 after 2.
Okay.
I've got it
there
all.
We go.
And shout out Jesse Mendez.
Yeah,
national champion wrestler.
Dude, in the final seconds, that was one of the most athletic things I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so cool. I have no idea what I'm watching when I'm watching wrestling, but I just am so amazed at the athleticism and what he did, the little rollover, and then he got into a takedown and gained 3 points. I don't even know how he got 3 points, but they gave him 3 and he ended up winning. It was sick. It was freaking sick.
Yeah, I it's funny because I'm like you. I don't follow, and no, I mean I follow enough because it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I can watch a match and I'm sitting there thinking somebody's going to bust out a Stone Cold Stunner or something, and it doesn't happen. But I will be even more invested in Ohio State wrestling over these next couple years. With Carter and Dax Chase.
Yeah.
Always, again, we always support the Marion kids.
Absolutely.
And those 2 kids are studs.
Yeah, they are.
Great kids, humble kids. Their dad, Steve, is a phenomenal guy.
Yep.
So, shout out those guys. Great week, for the Buckeyes. Actually, great weekend. So, with it being kind of a non-Ohio State centric episode, we wanted to change it up. Mount Rushmore today this might be the toughest one ever.
This is the toughest one ever.
Any of the Ohio State ones.
Yeah.
Top 4 sports movies. And it was your topic, so you get to go first.
Yeah. So I was sitting there thinking like, man, Mount Rushmore would be cool and do some Buckeye stuff, but what about this? So top 4 sports movies. Listen, I don't know if I've ever, like, growing up, that's all I watched. We were watching football, baseball, basketball, and sports movies. That was just my life. And so I was watching movies that I probably shouldn't have been watching at like the age of 8. Like The Last Boy Scout. I probably should not have been watching that when I was a little kid. But my dad was letting me watch it because it had football in it. Well, I didn't know somebody was going to get shot on the football field. You know what I mean? So yeah, like those are some things that I grew up with. So if I had to pick a Mount Rushmore, and I'm gonna do this in order. All right. So I'm going to do it in order. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to do it. So number 4 for me. And this one was tough. This one was tough. There could have been a 4A, 4B, but number 4 for me, Tin Cup. Kevin Costner. Gosh, man, that movie was awesome. And then, you felt the defeat when he like just made the dumbest decision ever to not just take the drop and go up, and you got a chance to win a major, and you just were like, nope, give me a ball, give me a ball, give me a ball. And then like that sense of like, oh, like if a movie can bring that out of you, it's a good movie. But then when he holds it out and everybody's like, yeah, it's just like, it was pretty cool to see, man. It's like the gunslinger, so Tin Cup will always stand out to me. Classic underdog story. My next one, I'm the biggest Willie Mays Hayes fan in the world, man. So Major League was one of the best movies for me of all time. It helped that it was the team formerly known as the Indians, all right, because I grew up an Indians fan, okay? But to have Wesley Snipes in this movie and Charlie Sheen and just all these fantastic people, and then Pedro Serrano, like just awesome. I was disappointed that Wesley Snipes didn't come back for Major League 2, but they went and got Omar Epps, and so like that was okay because Omar Epps is that guy. So, but Major League up there for me, Wild Thing that will always stand out, man. I'm again another underdog story, and I love that it took place in Ohio. My second one, I was going to, so this was a tough one for me, but Remember the Titans up there for me forever. Julius and Gary Bertier's relationship, and to see like during that time, just put yourself in that place and to understand the impact of desegregating a school, like that was special. And to know that football has the opportunity to bring people together, communities together, and it's not going to be easy. And then you got the GOAT Denzel Washington playing the head coach. Like, yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. And there's so many one-liners that just come from that movie. Sunshine. He starts singing and stuff. Like, oh my gosh. Like, there's just so
Petey,
many
how
one-liners.
many feet are in a mile?
There's just so zero fun, sir. Like there's just so many one-liners for that movie that it had to be in there. And then my number one, and this was a movie that I probably should not have been watching at the age I was watching it, but I'm so glad I did, is The Program. The Program will forever be my favorite sports movie. When Ray Griffin and Darnell Jefferson first meet, it was the awesome Darnell Jefferson, tailback, Ray Griffin, starting tailback.
Yeah.
Like that was so sick. Like that movie helped that it had Halle Berry in it. That's and Christy Swanson, but
For sure.
that movie was awesome. Cain is Abel, like it's just such a
Put
good,
the women and children to bed and go looking for dinner. I mean,
I'm gonna kill them all. Let the paramedics sort them out. Like Alvin Mack, the things that he would create in his head, like that was just like phenomenal. Like there will never be another movie like that. And so like those are my top 4 hardest like Mount Rushmore we've had, but I can look at this list in confidence and say these are 4 well-respected sports movies.
so we have 2 of the top 4 the same.
Okay. All right.
And ironically, there are Ohio State ties to both of them.
Okay. All right.
I'm not going to go in order because I actually have 6 written down here. So I'm trying to figure out my other 2. Remember the Titans, more than football at the end of the day. We don't go political a lot, on here, but more people need to watch that movie still today.
Yeah.
You know, if we're being 100% real.
Yeah.
The Ohio State tie to the movie, there is a deleted scene where Gary and Julius are talking about playing for Woody Hayes at Ohio State.
What?
Yes.
Really?
I will find the YouTube clip and send it to you.
Okay.
And we will post it on our Facebook page.
Wow, I did not know that.
So, and then the second one is the program. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, same thing. I shouldn't have been watching that movie at the age I was. And I think I have the DVD sitting somewhere over here.
Yeah.
The Ohio State tie to that movie. Alvin Mack is Ohio State All-American Wyatt Davis's dad.
Shut the front door.
Facts.
No, he's not.
Promise.
Oh my God. How sick is that?
Yes.
Oh my God. I got a new favorite Buckeye. Favorite Buckeye of all time, Wyatt Davis.
So I tried to get Alvin to do it. You know, he was doing a signing, and I paid the extra money for an inscription. And I tried to get Alvin to write "Kill 'em all and let the ambulance sort 'em out."
Yeah.
And he would not do it. So yes, those two are definitely my top two.
Okay.
I am going to go Miracle.
Okay.
Number 3.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Not a hockey guy, but again, an American. So Herb Brooks and what he did there.
Yeah.
You know, still arguably to this day, the greatest upset in sports besides probably 02 Ohio State beating Miami.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not an episode if I don't get a Miami jab in, I've decided. Number 4. I really want to go hardball.
Okay.
I mean, but they killed G Baby.
I know, you know, man. What the heck?
Now, if we were going saddest moments in a sports movie, you know, without a doubt, number 1.
Oh my gosh,
I'm gonna go Coach Carter.
Okay, all right.
Another, you know, great movie.
Great movie.
And you know, Samuel L. Anytime Samuel L. Jackson is in a movie,
Yeah.
So I guess I'd make my honorable mention Days of Thunder.
Oh, dude, my dad and I watched that movie about 50 times together. Like,
dude, I get yelled at every time Days of Thunder is on, Shawshank is on.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't not watch them.
Yeah.
You know, so, and, you know, to go back to Remember the Titans real quick, I was a massive, massive Sons of Anarchy fan when that show was on.
Yep.
Gary Bertier was Opie and Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
You know, and to this day, my buddy Rick still has PTSD from the way Opie's time on Sam Crow ended. But so yeah, it's cool to tie all the things together. So
yeah, man, that's awesome.
I gotta, you know, like I said, I'll post some stuff. I'll post the Remember the Titans clip on our Facebook page, and there's an article about the guy who played Alvin Mack being Wyatt Davis's dad. So I will find those and post those.
Man, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea, man. I feel like I missed the boat on that. No, I'm sorry, Wyatt. I didn't know.
Yeah, you could have got a custom 52 Alvin Mack jersey. I mean,
and it would have totally made sense.
And nobody would have understood unless they knew. Like
that's so crazy. Hey, underrated sports movie though. I didn't include it, but it was made before I was born, and I just recently watched it probably like a year ago for the first time. All the Right Moves, Tom Cruise. That movie, that's a pretty good sports movie. Guy just trying to get out, you know, trying to get out of his circumstance, not wanting to go work in a factory or the coal mines or whatever it was that they were working in, and he was using football as a way out, and like that's a pretty good one. It was Chris Brady actually told me about that one, and I checked it out. It's top-notch movie.
There's a ton of them. I mean, and that's the cool thing. You know, and that's the cool thing with, you know, when we do these, it's not always going to be it might not even be sports related. You know, I think next week, depending on what happens in this week, we might have to go top 4 rappers of all time, because
Oh,
I know
dude.
that is a hot debate. So we'll see if we get to that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
But
we'll see. We'll see.
being in Detroit this week, I'm just, I'm vibing with M again, and there's rumors of a new album.
That's what I heard.
So
That's what I heard. They had
um,
Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, and Snoop Dogg were on Jimmy Kimmel the other day, and 50 Cent said, like, M wanted me to tell you that there is a new album coming in 2024. So
I mean, I tried to go, to talk the fam into going to his restaurant for dinner one night, but
yeah,
we also got like 3 inches of snow while we were up there.
that's what I heard. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, as always, another awesome chat. We hope you guys enjoy it. I'm gonna let Coach Slater have the shout out this week, since I kind of went on my bowling tangent at the start of the show.
Oh man, no, I've just big shout out. I've been thinking about a lot about this. I posted about my transition to a new job coming this fall, and I just wanted to give a shout out to my guy, the head coach at Findlay High School, Stephen Adams. Like, what he's had to deal with over the last 3 years and all the different things that he has to do as a head coach at a big program. It ain't easy. He does it, and you want to talk about a guy that just cares about the players, cares about the history, and cares about the community. Like, he is top notch, man. If I had sons, I would send them. Well, he coaches 7th grade girls basketball too. So if I had the opportunity to send my girls to play for him, I would in a heartbeat, man. He does it the right way, and he's become one of my best friends, man. So shout out to him, doing things the right way, killing it up in Findlay. It's going to be a big year for them and Rise senior year. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited for him. And, it was a tough decision to leave, but, had to do what's best. And I know he's got the things that he needs to take the next step as a program. So I'm happy for him, man. And I just wanted to shout him out real quick.
Yeah, supporter of the show too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, yeah. So with that, anything you guys want to hear us talk about, when we do get these weeks where it's a slow Ohio State week, we've got some stuff coming, but let us know. We're always open to ideas. But yeah, that's all we got. So
That's
with
all,
that
man.
said, everybody make the week great. Be kind, stay humble.
Yeah. All right.